Breaking moments ago, Fox News polling shows that voters don't only hate his economy, they think the worst is yet to come. 67% of them, to be exact.
Let's bring in our Fox News contributor power duo, opinion editor at the Washington Times, Charlie Hurt, and Sirius XM Patriot host David Webb. Great to see both of you. Charlie, why doesn't this buffoon named Biden realize that the American people are PO'd at this climate crusade, but he relentlessly talks about it?
It's truly remarkable. And of course, those other numbers where you're showing the disconnect, what he calls the disconnect that people feel between their wallets and the lies that his administration and he is telling them about how the economy is going for them. It all stems from this sort of religious fervor about climate change, which has nothing to do with the climate, but it is destroying the economy. What it actually has to do with, it's all about government power, and it's all about giving people like Joe Biden and Democrats more power in Washington over every aspect of our lives, and forcing the rest of us to pay these goons more money in taxes so they can misspend it more and further destroy the economy. The reason he can't acknowledge it is because it's all the party stands for anymore, and to acknowledge it would be to surrender the whole party.
You know, David Webb, when you look at strength and capabilities, Joe Biden doesn't have it, which is why he sits at home instead of campaigning. We saw him in his basement in 2020. They've indicated, Democrats, that that's going to be the same campaign style in 2024. I wish he would employ that same mentality at the Apex Summit by not going. Don't show up. Don't try to speak. And I think America and the rest of the world would be better off because they wouldn't know whether we're weak. They might assume we're actually strong.
Well, maybe they will, maybe they won't. But the thing is, Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party know exactly what's going on. There's no secret for the rest of the world, but clearly they do their intelligence. You see him arriving, Chinese Communist flags lining the streets. That is a show for his country. The fact that Joe Biden called him a dictator is a farce. It's really just like the corn pop reference. It's Joe Biden throwing something in to sound like he's tough. His policies are lacking. His policies are missing. He's not taking China on the precursors for fentanyl. And at the same time, you could combine that with an attack on the cartels to our south. So if you combine those things, then you're saying to China, you don't have a market, but we're going to demand more accountability. On the economy, well, China holds so much of our debt, and we keep pushing ourselves down the road with these continuing resolutions and borrowing that we don't have to give back. We don't have pro-growth policies. The fact is, Biden is simply trying to gaslight the American people into believing that something is happening because he's actually got good policy. But tax and regulatory policy are destroying businesses that hire individuals, border policies. Alejandro Mayorkas, Christine Abizaid, and Christopher Wray yesterday in testimony demonstrated the failures of the Biden administration and the Democrat Party, which are costing us billions and billions in resources, in medical resources, in schooling, and the American people are paying the tab.
Well, while all that with Biden is going on out west, back in Washington, the left-wing Luniverse, the liberals, Democrats, losing their minds. And that's not an issue just in D.C. I digress. Last night, the DNC headquarters blocked by protesters demanding a ceasefire from Israel, but again, let's call them pro-Hamas protesters, pro-terrorists. House office buildings were locked down. 6 Capitol police officers were injured. 1 person was arrested. We might point out Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna was locked down in her office with her 11-week-old son while all this was happening. And like they always do, the libs are claiming they're the victims here. One of the groups behind the protest posted this on X, claiming, quote, "Last night in D.C., Jews and allies carried out a vigil and a nonviolent moral act of civil disobedience to call on Democrats to support a ceasefire to save Palestinian and Israeli lives. Within moments, police brutally assaulted peaceful protesters, injuring over 90. Charlie Hart, the U.S. Capitol Police said, we've handled hundreds of peaceful protests, but last night's group was not peaceful. The crowd failed to obey our lawful orders to move back from the DNC where members of Congress were in the building. Where's Merrick Garland and the Justice Department with the charges and the punishment like those from January 6th got?
Amen, sister. Exactly. And we'll never see it because the degree to which Democrats have weaponized the Department of Justice to carry out political orders only when it comes to this stuff, there will be no accountability for these violent protesters. And I do think, and I really do think it's important to underscore what you just pointed out. These are Capitol police officers who are responding to this because the DNC headquarters is just two blocks down the hill from the Capitol, and it's where Democrat lawmakers go to make their phone calls. And so who do you call? You don't call D.C. police. You call, these are the Capitol police officers that we've been hearing Democrats talk about for 2 years now. But at the end of the day, they don't really care about the welfare of these officers unless they can, gain some sort of political advantage on it. But, the real thing, and I think it's kind of, if it weren't such a serious situation, it would be sort of comical that you have these violent insurrectionists attacking the DNC headquarters. And of course, the reason they are is because these are Democrat voters. And for years, they have been supporting Democrats who have the exact same geopolitical policy as Osama bin Laden and the Hamas and the terrorists, which is they want to give all control of the Middle East to Iran and erase Israel from the map. Now, Democrat lawmakers won't admit that they want to erase Israel from the map. But if you support Iran, if you're giving billions of dollars to Iran, if you are turbocharging Iran's economy, then you are directly funding the terrorists who want to eliminate Israel from the map. And it's what we saw out of Gaza 3 weeks ago or a month ago. And it's what is going to continue. And the fact that these supporters look up and Joe Biden isn't capitulating completely, they're protesting at the White House and the Capitol, calling him Genocide Joe and tracking Democrat lawmakers. They deserve every bit of this. You get into bed with a dog and you wake up with fleas, don't complain to the rest of us about it.
And David, I think so many expect us to not believe our lying eyes. It happened during Black Lives Matter when they were burning and looting, destroying the streets of America. We were told that these are peaceful protests. Last night, the protest turns violent. And again, they play the same playbook and go, you know what? This was a peaceful protest. It wasn't us that was violent. It was the police that were violent against us. How does this play out?
Yeah. Let's see, 3 words, mostly peaceful protests. Remember that, right along with Summer of Love?
Right.
Let's contrast what happened, excuse me, on the National Mall. Almost 300,000 people protesting, or not protesting, but rallying peacefully to support Israel, to support any action against atrocities committed by Hamas. And, these little communists and Islamists and pro-Hamas terrorist supporters, they can be free in a free society to do whatever they want and to be a communist, but you certainly can't be free in a communist or an Islamist society. So why don't they take their flights, go over to Gaza, start doing their humanitarian work, start protesting, take everybody over there? They won't, they can't. It points to the hypocrisy of it. You can be free to be who you are in our society, but over there, you only get to be a Hamas supporter, or according to their charter, you are simply to be killed. That is just fact. That's what's in those pages. As far as Joe Biden's hoping enough of them come around to vote for Democrats again. Democrats are, frankly, good at rounding up the vote because they will all work together with their individual agendas, knowing that each one gets to advance their power. And that is my warning to the Republicans. Don't discount Joe. Don't discount the Democrats' ability to round up these blocks of people to vote against America and against the West.
Thank you. Charlie Hurt, David Webb.
Charlie Hurt.
Great to see you guys.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.